So, into the chair block. We're going to talk about, as Toby foreshadowed, EDH Boxing League and some of our lessons learned. We're winding down the last few weeks of the league, so let's give it a quick postmortem. What's been your favorite part so far?
My favorite part is it has played very differently from our usual Commander games. It still has Commander feel, but but the way it has played out, I mean, we're still doing all the same sort of posturing we do. There's lots of rattlesnaking. There's lots of like deals and intimidation, and generally, who's the archenemy right now. All that's still there, right. But it's been wrapped up in a very different package from our normal Commander. To give you some very obvious examples, removal is at a huge premium.
Those one-for-ones are important now.
One-for-ones are... I mean, I was playing bad one-for-one removals because it was just so important. I mean, the Ikoria box I opened had Plummet in it, and I windmill slammed Plummet into my deck.
Yeah, me too.
That was before I even knew that Scott was going to run a Flyers deck. That was just right. Like, there will be targets for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
The basic non-existence of Wraths was really relevant. And that had actually implications for very heavy implications for gameplay. So to my mind, even though we were still playing something that felt very commandery, the actual gameplay was quite different from our usual mode.
Very sealed deck.
It was very sealed deck. I mean, and as a very hardcore limited player, I loved this. This was fine.
So what's been your least favorite part so far?
So, and this has been very interesting as a format construction experiment. My least favorite part has been that I don't think I may be a week behind in opening packs. I don't even remember, but I don't care because the marginal value of the packs we opened dropped off very, very quickly. And I may be more guilty is not the right word, but I may have been more of a victim of this than most people. I'm fairly sure I opened the weakest box to begin with. So I had to lean extremely heavily into narrow themes.
Right.
Like the first version of this deck was basically with all the mutate cards, on all the cycling cards, and all the removal, and we were done. And then some filler.
Right.
And so for me, week 2, week 3, I opened packs and I added 8 cards and 6 cards, and then by week 4, I'm adding like 2 cards and one of them's a land. And week 5, it was Zendikar Rising, and the only reason I added any cards at all was that I added some spell lands. So I don't know if we were opening too many packs in those weeks or what, but my deck in particular, it just the interest level in opening further packs dropped off dramatically.
Yeah, I think that in the future I would slow down the rate at which we open packs. Like every other week seems a little better.
Or open 3 a week or something. Yeah.
Right. Or open 3 a week, or I mean that gets pretty awkward pretty fast because you're going to run out of affordable sets to tap into at a certain point.
Yeah.
Right. You have to have a length of your league in mind to really plan it out. Because I think I'm a week behind opening packs too, and don't really much care because I transformed my deck into a different commander. Well,
and that's the thing is that what we actually saw, how we actually ended up reacting to this phenomena was most of us built a second deck. Like I've got my A deck in the Brokos deck, and then I went and I just built a Rada Heart of Keld deck partly because the Brokos deck essentially got to a point where I was like, this deck is finished. Like, there's no real value or interest to this deck. I mean, it's fun to play, and I'll keep playing it.
Right.
But let's build a second deck, and there's like, I think I have to swap 6 cards between the 2 decks or something. So even though they share a color, there's not gigantic overlap.
Right.
But and again, part of it was that I had to really excessively adhere to theme. So what I did on week 2 was I opened Amonkhet because I had the mutate, and we'll talk about Ikoria and the impact of Ikoria in a bit, but the mutate part of the deck was just never going to get better. There aren't other mutate cards I could open.
Sure.
But the other half of the deck was cycling, and so I said, okay, let's open a cycling set, and that's Amonkhet is the most recent cycling set that is in Ikoria. And that gave me another set of cycling cards. And then the week after that, I opened, obviously, Hour of Devastation, which was the other cycling set. And at that point, my deck is literally 38 cyclers, 11 mutate cards, and removal. And
but you have a particular cycling card that makes this run.
Well, one of the annoying things is that I never opened any of the major payoffs. I didn't open the red cycling card in Ikoria. I didn't open like Sharknado or anything like that. I didn't open any of the sort of. I didn't. There's a couple of common ones. I opened the Astral Slide Your Own Creature cycler.
Right.
And then in Hour of Devastation, I opened Abandoned Sarcophagus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, never made this card work before, even in limited. I'm going for it here. And this card has been amazing for me.
Yes.
For those who don't know, it says essentially, anytime a cycling card would go to your graveyard other than being cycled, exile it. And you can play all your cards with cycling out of your graveyard.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an artifact, sits there and lets you play it. And, so my game plan was entirely stall with Mutate, win with Mutate eventually, probably. But at some point in the game, play this, I now have 16 more cards in my hand.
Yeah.
And that, I made it work. It's been great. But the problem is that, so after week 3, I've now exhausted all the cycling sets, all the Mutate sets. All I'm really looking for at that point is, can I find better removal? And from an excitement of part of the joy of this is the excitement of opening packs. And one of the reasons I particularly want to do this is, I collect sets, but I collect sets by drafting a lot. And obviously, I can't do that right now. I can't go out and get 8 friends and draft. So I used to do that 3 times a week. Now it's never. So I literally had not touched physical Ikoria product until we did this boxing league. So when we're like, well, let's just open a box, I'm like, I have to open a box anyway. This is a great way to do this. And then, I have lot packs lying around to the other thing. So when people say this is an expensive format, and that's an absolutely legitimate criticism about this, you should not do this because you want to throw around, set a bunch of money on fire and for a few weeks. You should do this because you were planning to open that box anyway. For whatever reason, a lot of people get a box of a set or, crack a box with their friends and draft. This is another way for you to have fun with your product that you were gonna open anyway. I mean, I talk about how I never open packs in anger. Because I watched somebody, get their draft prize get their prize for winning a round at F&M, and they crack the pack open, and I'm like, no, don't do that. That was a draftable pack. And to be fair, I now have thousands of packs because I store them up and don't actually end up drafting them all. But the point is not you should go and spend the couple $100 it costs to and we've gotten many hours of entertainment out of this, so I'm not regretting it. But the point is more you should go and do this thing as one of the possible alternate ways of opening your box. I'm a huge fan of, for example, Winston drafting, which is a 1 versus 1 format. Not because it's an inherently balanced or anything else but it's actually a pretty compelling limited format that you can play with 2 people, and it's a way more fun way to open a box of cards than crack pack, look at rare, put pack aside, crack pack, look at rare, put pack aside. There's nothing compelling about that. So Boxing League to me was very much about, I've got this box of Ikoria, let's go.